Hey guys, this is Jam of jamonline.ph, and today we got here the latest smartphone from ASUS, the ASUS ROG Phone 8. So we're gonna do a one-shot review of this one. This we're gonna be quick. This we're gonna be, of course, precise on our review of this one. So let's talk about first the thing that I love about the ASUS ROG Phone 8, and it is about the design. So as you can see in here, it has a more minimalistic look compared to the previous ROG smartphones. We got here the white color. The camera module is different now, as you can see, but the camera of the smartphone is actually pretty powerful. So at the back, we got here the ASUS ROG logo, but when you open the Armory Crate application, I can actually turn on the system lighting. And as you can see in here, the ROG logo at the back lights up. And if you want to synchronize this one with other ASUS ROG devices, you can actually do that one if you wanted to. But for me, I'm actually fine with turning this one off to save more battery on the smartphone. So yes, we got here the glass back, a more minimalistic look as you can see. Of course, we still got here some gamer look or gamer feel on the smartphone. As you can see in here, we still got here the Dare to Win, Good Luck, Have Fun, ESD 2006, and of course the Republic of Gamers up here at the top of the smartphone. So despite having a more minimalistic look, the ASUS ROG DNA is still here in its design. Speaking of design, we still got here a more blockier design or squarish design. As you can see in here, we got here the flat sides. You can feel the weight of the smartphone. You can feel how blocky it is. But make no mistake, I still love the feel of the smartphone and its weight despite playing games all day. I mean, playing Honkai Star Rail and a lot more games on the smartphone. So for the ports, we got here the USB Type-C below here, the smartphone, and of course the headphone jack, so you can still play games if you wanted to, and also use your wired headphones or wired earphones for better audio, of course. And then below, we still got here another USB Type-C, which isn't a surprise considering that you could use different ASUS ROG accessories with the ASUS ROG Phone 8. And if you wanted to, you can buy the Aeroactive cooler and plug it in on the ASUS ROG Phone 8. On the side, we got here the power button along with the volume rocker, and of course, we also got here the air triggers for FPS games and for racing games. As for me, I love using it with Call of Duty Mobile, but most of the time, you would appreciate it with games like Grid Auto Sport for racing games. But yeah, you could actually take advantage of the air triggers mostly for those kind of games. As for mobile games, well, I'm not sure if you would take advantage of the air triggers on that one. On the front, we got here the 6.78-inch AMOLED display with the 165Hz refresh rate. That is really a powerful display. 165Hz. I believe most games and applications wouldn't support that one, but it's still nice to see a 165Hz refresh rate on a smartphone like this. Now, you might ask me, why is it really noticeable when it comes to the difference of 144Hz and 165Hz? Well, I can tell you that is actually noticeable unless you're the type of person who's not really into refresh rate into the displays. You wouldn't really notice that one, but the leap from 120 or 144 hertz to 165 hertz is noticeable for me. And again, this means that your smartphone is future proof, and if there will be some apps and games that can take advantage of that one, then good, you could have an advantage compared to other smartphones, which I believe is mostly at 120 hertz still at 2024. Another change for me with the display is that we now have a punch hole camera instead of a full screen display with a little bezel at the top and bottom of the smartphone. As for me, I really don't have any problems with that one. I've been playing some games like Honkai Star Rail. I've tried Genshin Impact and of course Grid Auto Sport on this one. And what I've noticed is that basically that punch hole camera has become invisible to me after using it for some time. So yeah, it isn't really a problem for me when it comes to the ASUS ROG Phone 8. But for some purists who loves to play games on a full screen display with no interruptions, well, you might have a problem with the punch hole display. But again, as for me, I really don't have a problem with the punch hole camera of the smartphone. Now, inside the smartphone is a 5,500 milliamp hours of battery along with 65 watts of charging. We now have a smaller battery on this one, but ASUS promised that it will still have the same battery life on the smartphone. As for me, I tested this one on PCMark Work 3.0 battery test, and I got a score of 10 hours and 40 minutes. Okay, 10 hours and 40 minutes isn't that bad, but it isn't the same level as I got on the previous ROG smartphones. But I was playing games on the smartphone like Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, well, I'm still getting a whole day almost of usage on the smartphone. So if you play games whole day, you could use this one almost the whole day. Just bring a power bank with you. But most of the time, if you're the type of person who's working all day in the morning and then play games after on breaks and also after work, well, you won't probably need a power bank with this one. The 5,500 milliamp hours of battery would be enough for you. As for the 65 watts of charging, it's still fast, still good, but it's not the fastest one that we have seen, as we now have seen 120 watts charging on other smartphones. Now, let's talk about the performance. Quick lang sa performance. We got here Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. We also got here a 12 gigs of RAM. I do not need to talk about the performance anymore on the smartphone. You could run basically everything that you want, whether that's games or that's Honkai Star Rail, Yuzu, Switch emulator, or even Aether PS2 emulator. You wouldn't have any problems with the smartphone. Everything runs just fine on the smartphone, whatever game that you want to run on it at maximum settings. Now, here's the tricky part. Now, you might be asking, kamusta ang thermals? How's the thermals of the smartphone? Thankfully, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor is actually pretty good when it comes to temperatures. It wasn't that hot when I was playing on the smartphone. Yes, it heats up after playing some time. It heats up after, benchmarking the smartphone after some time. But I was really happy to see that the smartphone didn't overheat, and I was able to play games without even any problems on the smartphone. So overall, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 would run just fine, whatever games that you want to run on it, whatever apps that you want to run on it on the Play Store. So you might be asking, how's the benchmark? Now let me show you some of the benchmarks that I got using the smartphone. Now let's talk about the camera. We got here the 50 megapixel main camera, a Sony IMX890 sensor, a 32 megapixel telephoto camera, and also a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera rather. There's also a 32 megapixel selfie camera. As for the ASUS ROG Phone 8, well, I could tell you that the ASUS ROG Phone 8 does really have a really good camera, but not the best one, considering that there are other smartphones with a 1-inch sensor. But the ASUS ROG Phone 8, if you're gonna use a smartphone for mobile photography, this one is really good when it comes to processing, the sharpness, the colors. They are really good even at nighttime shots. So I've used this one in Japan, I've also used this one here in the Philippines, and what I can say is that the camera of the smartphone is really excellent. Let me show you some of the shots that I took using the smartphone. So you've seen some of the shots that I took using the smartphone, and I can tell you that the processing on this one is more on the natural side, no over processing, and I like how good the cameras of the ASUS ROG Phone 8 is. I like the sharpness, the skin tones are very natural to me, whether I'm shooting at night mode or even when I'm shooting at a decent lighting conditions. I really love the camera of the ASUS ROG Phone 8. As for the video, I was really happy to see that the gimbal or the stabilization on this one is excellent. I was actually blown away with the stabilization on the videos with the ASUS ROG Phone 8. So I guess that's it for our review of the ASUS ROG Phone 8. Overall, the smartphone is a really good smartphone, whether that's for camera, for performance, or for whatever you want to use it for. Whether you want to use it for everyday use, for performance, the display is excellent, the performance is really good, whether that's for office use or for gaming. And then the camera is just excellent on the smartphone, whether you want it for photo, video. You also got here a long battery life, and the looks of this one, I mean, it's solid, the minimalistic look. I love the glass feel at the back. Everything is so good with the ASUS ROG Phone 8. It's not a perfect smartphone. Again, we got here a lower battery capacity, but it's still good. But I wish that they max out everything on the smartphone. So yeah, I guess that's it for our video for today. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And be sure to click that subscribe button along with that bell button to get notified of our latest videos here in my YouTube channel. So once again, I am Jam of JamOnline.ph. Thank you for watching and see you guys again in our next video.